recognize this voice.
I'd say this may even be his strength. Tim is a strong lobbyist for his cause. Thank God he's not for the tobacco special interest groups. He's very frugal and excited about high cost, and that, believe me, in media services I respect highly. To summarize the meaning of Tim Price, I'd say it's full speed ahead, with all the necessary gear in hand. But watch out, his mode of transportation won't be fancy. In fact, it might even be on his last leg. On the other hand, his mind, body, spirit, and truck seem to just go on and on and on. Truly amazing, priceless. Aloha, bro, we love you.
Please welcome Rob Irons, former actor and a master of disguised voice, Rob Irons. Rob is the former manager of business operations. Here, Rob, here's a microphone for you. What else do you know about Tim?
Oh, just that he's just done so much, you know. It was always the cutting edge he wanted to put in, and, you know, but of course if it was $1 million, he'd say, we better wait. But, you know, he'd really be out there to try to bring us into the 21st century. He's just, you know, a pleasure for that reason. I mean, we always cutting edge importance, and that's, you know, the motto. Just great. I can't say any more than that. Just it's a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you so much, Rob.
Yeah.
One of probably my most fun years, I would say, is when you and I were working in concert before Henry's arrival. It was just really a lot of fun. Spent an awful lot of time up in your office making lattes.
Thanks.
And learning a lot more about finance and how it really worked. In fact, that was my best year for figuring out how the budget really worked. And that I attribute to you.
Linda Roberts is in the audience. Did Tim ever really figure out the budget? Or process the paperwork?
He just left.
Ah, right. Yeah. Well,
He did what he needed to do and did it well. He was great at that.
Rob Irons is always the diplomat. But again, time marches on, and we have additional voices.
Hello? Oh, hi, Tim. Thanks for returning my call. I need a favor. Yeah, I know I asked you for a favor last week, but my boss wants to give a presentation, and yeah, you're right, it's today. Yeah, can I come by and
Who
review
could this
with you?
be, Tim?
Thanks. Be right there.
Here we go. Leslie Sinnell from the Chancellor's Office. Leslie.
I really do need your help with this. In 1996, I came to the campus shortly after Chancellor Greenwood did, and within hours of my arrival, she said, yeah, I want to do a presentation. In fact, I think it was a presentation of the regents or some elected official or, I don't know, some dignitaries or indignitaries. And I didn't know who to call, and everybody said, call Tim. Oh, you gotta call Tim. And so I did, and there's a few things I've learned about Tim over the years, and I just wanted to share a few pictures with you. Like many experts, Tim was drawn to his field of work at a very early age, and this is a picture of Tim at home in the early days. Oh, yeah, Tim, could you just focus that, please? Whenever we needed him in the Chancellor's office, Tim came running, not always with a tie, but always with a smile. And there's never been a time when we wanted to do a presentation that he wasn't there right away and made it all right. Every time I saw him in the room, I relaxed and thought, okay, we'll get through this one. Oh, could you adjust the contrast on that, Tim? Now, what was really cool about Tim is he always brought the latest equipment. I mean, really was great, but, you know, sometimes it was digital, sometimes it wasn't. He was able to go with whatever we needed. Now, when I needed a special picture to illustrate a point that the Chancellor wanted to make, Tim went into the archives and spent hours looking for the right image. And, you know, Tim, I like all that stuff, but could you get us one of our campus? For Tim, no challenge was ever too great, no problem insurmountable. He went to every great length to make sure the Chancellor's presentations went perfectly. And, yeah, you want to move that antenna just a little more to the left, Tim. Now, he's got a magic touch. I can tell you, I brought him the worst presentations more than once to Tim, and he said, well, let's just change the font size. Let's just put a little shadow drop on that. Let's just tweak it a little bit here. And it always came out right. And, you know, he always had the right tools with him. So I just want to say, Tim, on behalf of the Chancellor Greenwood and all of us in the Chancellor's office, thank you so much. I say this with admiration, affection, appreciation, and aloha. We could not have done these last 7 years without your help. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate those words. But we're not done yet. There are more voices from the past.
There was a time Tim was manager of media services and managed by the bookstore, which is an inexplicable story and save for another time. He had to go and argue with the manager that media services be allowed to buy its very first VHS camcorder, a small amount of leftover recharge money. The manager of the bookstore didn't see why we needed that and thought we should go into the VHS tape rental business to accommodate students on campus. When I first applied at media services, Tim says that the ad in the paper said a halftime predictionist was needed. I thought it said projectionist. And of course, those of us who work in media know that halftime you need a predictionist because our clients tend to use the mental telepathy system of reservations.
Tim, now who is this person?
That sounds like Brian Doug.
Brian Duggan. Come on out, Brian. And I'm sure Brian has more stories to tell.
Lots more.
Henry asked me to come and reminisce about Tim.
Ralph.
Ralph? Oh, Ralph, sorry. Ralph asked me to come and reminisce about Tim, which is not quite true. He asked me to come and tell stories about Tim so that Henry wouldn't have to tell stories about me. But it's true, we actually did have to beg the manager of the bookstore to buy a VHS camcorder when everybody else on campus had one. And Bruce mentioned that originally the name was Office of Instructional Services. There were several generations of names, but I think when I first came it was actually Jurassic Media Services. Do you remember the student excuses when they couldn't do jobs? There was everything from the possible to impossible. I broke my collarbone. Ivor got arrested at a peace protest once and couldn't come because he was in jail, you know. Somebody went to the airport that morning and didn't allow enough time to get to San Francisco and back to handle a 10 o'clock in the morning job, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Oh, yeah, these excuses were just amazing. Or they would just call in and say, well, you know, I took some sort of drug that my roommate had, and I'm in no condition to do anything. And I just thought, oh my God, you know, I mean, what are you going to do in life? You know, it's...
You remember Jasper Rose, art history,
Oh, yes.
right? The art history department used to call and complain because he was beating the screen with his cane when he wanted the slides changed. They wanted us to stop him.
This man was tough on media systems. He really gave. Although I remember one time with the Health of Campus Facilities, which was not quite the great organization it is today. Jasper was in a room in applied sciences, and I asked them, campus facilities, to paint a side window black so it didn't stream, the sunlight would stream on the screen. Well, when Jasper came in with his slides, campus facilities had in fact painted the window back black, but they painted the projection booth window
Do you remember the projection booths where the seats were built up higher than the projection window, necessitating platforms and pedestals to get the projectors up high enough to shoot over people's heads?
Yeah, amazing. That was, actually I think that was a problem on our part. That room, we threw an awful lot of money at it, but it never seemed to quite work. I'm not sure if it does today.
Well,
AS 152.
right, and it happened to Kresge as well too, in the town hall. It's been an amazing, long, strange trip.
You know, and
That's right.
Tim's seen everything change. You know, when we first got into this business, classrooms were built like the way the classroom before then. It built screen, chalkboard, seats, maybe a place at the back for a slide projector, but that's about it. You know, and now it's conduit everywhere, networking, projectors, all this kinds of stuff. Images in those days were celluloid or polyester with chemical dyes on them to make the image. There was something tangible that you held in your hand, and now there isn't anything tangible. It's pixels from a hard disk or a CD-ROM. Tim has seen quite a bit of changes in classrooms and how they're designed and how media has been used, literally from stone axes and bear skins to lasers and pixels.
True. I mean, as we moved through that process of building and designing, we really didn't know what we were doing. I mean, we were going along. We would get an idea, and we would put it in place, and sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't. But through the years, it slowly came along. I wish back in 1985 I had someone like Jeff Wagner to work with who could, you know, put a better technical spin on some of these things. But we did the best we could.
Yeah, it was
And we had
flying by the seat of our
I
pants.
noticed Bruce Beasley here. We had some great people that came up with some incredibly innovative ideas.
Yeah, we sweated a lot too. Is this going to work? Is this not going to work? Won't we be embarrassed if it doesn't work?
That's true. That's true.
Do you remember Alan Bartz? Back in the old days, there were 4 of us in the Jurassic Media Services. There were 4 of us that worked. There was Tim, myself, Kevin Cashin, and our equipment technician, Alan Bartz. And Alan played backup rhythm guitar with the Doobie Brothers down at the Catalyst, you know. And so he was up until the small hours of the morning, and he'd drag himself into work at 8, and basically was pretty much useless until about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And when he thought nobody was looking, he would sit there and doze at his desk. And so one day he was nodding away. I took an entire tube of crazy glue and I tried to glue his foot to the floor. And you know, the crazy glue has a very peculiar odor, and the fumes woke him up, and he moved his foot before the glue set, unfortunately or fortunately, and couldn't figure out what was going on. But I think for many years afterwards, that crazy glue footprint remained in the communications building.
So, right.
Well, thank you both very, very much. Let's give a big hand for Tim and Brian Duggan. Those of us who followed this pair really owe a debt of gratitude to them. They solved a lot of problems and paved the way for things that made it so much easier for us following that. So thank you very much. Thank you both. At this time, I'd like to have Tim's family, Doris White, Celeste Butts, and Luke Butts, please join us on the stage. We'd like to have some comments from you. Thanks, Brian. Come on down here. Celeste, what do you remember about your dad in media services?
Well, I remember being 3 years old and going to visit his workplace, and one of my favorite things to do was to ride in the big white van that he took all the equipment around in. The cold cement floors, I thought, well, why is this building like a prison? I remember really thinking that from a very early age. But my dad has worked so hard. I mean, he's so dedicated and took his job so seriously, and I just admire that so much.
Great, thank you. Let's give Celeste a hand here. Doris, what time does Tim get up in the morning?
5:30.
When I come in, often he's there going.
He's still getting up at 5:30. It's his favorite time. But, you know, over the years, what I remember hearing is the stories in the classrooms and all of the enjoyment that he had of going out and learning from all of the people that, you know, he would experience all of these personalities and their intelligence and what they had to offer. He'd come home and be going on and on about some subject that previously he'd never thought of. And it was so stimulating to be up here over the years, I think, for him. It's broadened him exceedingly beyond any education just sitting in any one classroom he could have had.
You know, I think that Ralph and he surfed at one time. You know, everybody here it was not a job. It was the personalities and the intelligence and just the sheer joy of showing up. That wasn't every day. It was still a job in other ways that, you know, was hard. And I think certainly some of the things that he and Annie went through with were incredibly difficult. But
Behind closed doors.
yeah, yeah. But she still comes down and has a drink, and that's what's important, is all the people that he's still in love with that have been here all these years.
Great, thank you. Let's have a hand for Doris. Luke, it's your turn. What do you remember?
You know, I've only known Tim for about 7 years now or so, but as far as his career here, the main thing I would say is integrity. As a lot of other people have said, he takes it real seriously. He works hard, I can tell that, and it's really important to him to get things done right and to complete things. But at the same time, he's always good at taking that surf break at lunch, and there's many times he'd tell me, I got good waves today at lunch, and I'd be real jealous because I don't get to do that with my job.
Great, thank you very much. Let's have a hand for Luke, please. Well, Mr. Media, this is your life. And we have a scrapbook here for you. It's not completely full with memories yet, but at the conclusion of this event, we're going to fill this up with a lot of images and memories of your time here in Santa Cruz. So we congratulate you. We wish you well. We'll see you some more on the university campus, and it's really good to have you around and be involved with all of this. I'd like to take, oh, you have some comments. I think he's remembering things now. Jogging his memory here.
Well, one comment I wanted to make, and I'd like to address it to Leslie, because when our current Chancellor, Chancellor Greenwood, when Marcy first came, I really tried to make a strong commitment to her to not to drop the ball. And she really kept us running that first year. It was, as Bruce can well attest, I think she did 300 presentations or something the first year. And I don't think
more hopping than Wendell? You had to hop more than Wendell?
Yeah, well,
close.
It was a little different style. So I just wanted to say, you know, I hope we didn't drop the ball, and it worked out pretty well.
Great. Let's have a big hand for Tim, please. Folks, this is the time when we roll credits. And I'd like to thank the Media Services group that helped out so much with this. I'd like to start with Linda Robertson. And could we give each of these people a hand? Linda Robertson, who had events and things, kinds of things. Our announcer, Bruce Horn. Let's hear it for Bruce. Phil Johnson, running audio and other things. Let's hear it for Phil. Matt Norwood. Matt Norwood was our handler for our secret guests. Kevin Cashin, video camera. And last but not least, Student Sarah on the camera. Hi, Sarah. Thank you. And last but not least, someone that's known Tim since he was 1 year old, Troy Verosco. And we used a lot of material from a paper that Troy wrote for Tim's biography. So, Troy, thank you very much. We copped a bunch of your stuff. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of every This Is Your Life program, the cast, the guests, the audience retreated to the Magnolia Ballroom in the old Roosevelt Hotel on Hollywood Boulevard. I've had the privilege of staying there a couple of times. It's a marvelous facility, and now we invite you to enjoy the food at the Magnolia Ballroom. Thank you very much for attending.